Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the City Chatter Podcast. I'm Public Information Officer for the City of Grand Forks, John Bernstrom. I'm your host, and joining me this week, it's been about a month since we've done a show, Ward 2 Councilmember Rebecca Osowski. Rebecca, thank you for thank you for coming back.
Right.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah, I know.
Third time.
We get a parking spot for you outside eventually.
Right. I don't know if I need that. I don't come here too often.
No. All right, we'll get into it. Like I said, we haven't done a program here for about a month. Some scheduling conflicts, holidays, whatnot. So there's quite a bit of stuff to cover. So Rebecca, with over the weekend, I read in our local newspaper a story about north end of Grand Forks and development and stuff like that. With Ward 2, which is kind of north of University up there, you've got some things happening up there. There's some. It's an older part of town, but things are moving forward, I feel.
Right. It's starting to be a little bit more developed. And,
Yeah,
with Memorial Village 1 and 2 over there and the new softball field that's coming. And so
I think you gave a good point in the article of talking about part of the development is just cleaning up what's there. And clean up, I read it as there's some older buildings maybe need to be torn down, redeveloped. Or were you going down the everyone just rake your yard?
No, I do think that there are some older buildings. One that always pops into my mind is that old hotel. I can't remember what it used to be called. It's over there by like Slap Shop Pizza right on Demers.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's just run down. It's an eyesore. It would be nice to, get rid of buildings like that and just make room for some new development over on the north end.
And stuff like that does take time for the city to get involved. We've done a couple, but the city just can't go tear down a building.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a minute.
Otherwise, we'd tear down Columbia Mall, huh?
Exactly. We don't own it. We'll just leave Shields, this little bubble there.
Right.
Okay, so that's good. Development on the north end. I used to live in Ward 2 myself. I lived on 9th Avenue North. It's nice to see those neighborhoods. I don't want to say turning over, but not being stagnant.
Right. It's nice to just have a little bit more development on the north end because I know the town is moving more towards the south.
Just the way the town grows, right?
Right.
At last night's committee of the whole meeting, there was I think a good discussion, and you brought up some good points. There's an opportunity for the city to potentially get some state funds or whatever to do some enhancements to the greenway right in the downtown area there.
Right.
Who knows what we do? It's just the idea of maybe we take a look at this. What are your thoughts on that? I felt you made some good points last night at the meeting of we need to be a little bit careful.
Right. I think the presentation that was given last night was very good, and I think a lot of the ideas are great, but we have to remember that it is going into a floodplain.
Right.
And so we need to be cautious about what we actually put there. I mean, after the flood of 97, all that stuff was destroyed. And so why would we want to invest, I think they said like $23 million into just what they presented.
Sure, which was a bit of a pie in the sky.
Right,
I mean, that was,
right.
I think even Melanie Parvey, she's like, well, that's everything.
Right. And so I'm just kind of concerned about, like sometimes it floods a couple times a year.
Couple times a month.
Yeah.
It'll go up and it'll come down.
Right. And, just the maintenance that it's going to cost, like even just cleaning up after the flood so that those spaces are usable to the public. And so I just think that we need to really think about, just what we're going to do down there.
Sure.
So we don't get in over our heads and we're not having to replace these things that we build, in 10 years again, because the river took a toll on them. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen the next couple of years with flooding down there. And I mean, we built a dike for a reason, and that's to keep the water out and keep us safe on this side. And so it's a lot of money that they kind of propose to put down there. And I mean, I love amphitheaters. They're awesome. They're great. But how many months out of the year are we really even going to be able to use those spaces, especially being on that side of the dike?
Right. You're already cut down on the winter.
Right.
And then you potentially could lose spring.
Right.
Right. So I will say this is my family and I, we've traveled to Winnipeg before, and they have the Forks area there, which is
Okay.
really neat along the river.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife goes, well, we should do something like this. And I'm like, well, we can't. They control the river within the city. They have a bypass around the
Oh,
city. So the
okay.
river's always consistent in Winnipeg, so they can do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, our river's moving all over the place.
Right.
It's
Right. And it
up,
flows
down,
north,
and
so we get everything, in the spring just from Fargo, and
Yep.
it just all comes north. So,
Yep.
and I'm kind of worried about, like, sometimes there are ice jams and everything. And,
Yes.
and if they decide to put a building down there, like they discussed a warming house type facility, I mean, how much damage are those ice jams going to do to
And I would make
building.
I'm making a bit of an assumption. Okay, a warming house of some sort. There is the boathouse rental down there, but it's actually a cargo container that they can physically move.
Oh, okay.
And they
okay.
physically pull it higher in
Right.
the winter before they put it back.
Right.
I may be reading between the lines, but I'm thinking something like that. You throw an ice fishing house down there, and it's a warming house, but then you can hook it up and pull it out.
Right. That makes sense.
Well-
but I also, like, how much does it cost to move
there
all
you
those
go.
buildings,
Yeah.
And
Where do we store it?
Right. Where do we store it? At what point do we send our staff down there to get it? I think that we just need to be really cautious about the amount of money that we spend on that side of the dike and what is actually put there.
Along those lines, and it's nobody's fault. Thankfully, the spring flooding hasn't been too bad the past 2 years.
Right.
As a council member, if we ever have spring flooding, come to our flood meetings. You'd be amazed by our
I'd
public
love
works
to.
people
Yeah.
of how they're just like, got it, understood, got it, closed, open, done. All right, let's move on.
Right.
Those meetings are literally just a checkbox. We're all good? Yep. Lenny's got it.
I mean, I'm sure they're pretty efficient at it at this point.
They are.
I
Yeah.
mean, it floods almost every year down there.
Yeah.
I mean, last year they didn't put the floodgates up, though.
No,
I don't
we
think,
didn't.
so.
And even those floodgates
Uh-huh.
are stored in a certain order because they have to be installed in a certain order.
Mm-hmm.
So even from that standpoint, we need to pull this bundle out before that bundle, and they
Right.
need to go in a certain order. Those crews amaze me every year.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the meetings, I sit in the corner. Those guys do an amazing job.
I
It's
think
a lot of
we
fun.
have wonderful city employees, so
Those public works on the flood side,
Right.
that's an impressive group of people.
right, I bet it is.
Yeah.
so.
Also discussed at last night's meeting. I find this interesting. I've been in Grand Forks long enough now. I've been in the old water treatment plant when it was operational. Gives me a better appreciation for a new water treatment plant.
Yeah, right.
But that's it's like a whole city block, and it's just sitting there empty. The idea of potentially putting out an RFQ, request for qualifications, of what a development could look like there. Can you talk about some of the discussions you guys have had as council members of maybe what you want to see in that space, or has it not gone that far yet?
I don't think it's really gone that far yet. At first, when I heard about the RFQ, I was a little bit kind of taken back. Like, why not just, I
Sure.
don't know, let
Sell
it,
it. Open it
sell
up.
it,
Yeah.
and let a
Yep.
developer develop it. But then, some people brought up some good points. Like, it is a nice plot of city land, and I do think that whatever is put there should work towards the vision that we have for
Be
the city.
intentional.
Right, and I don't really know what that is. I would hate to see, I mean, I don't know if I want another park there because we are so close to
Sure.
the Greenway. I mean,
Yep.
it's not a far walk. I'm not really sure what the options are, and so I do think that it is a good idea to put that out.
It's a unique spot too, because
Right,
it's in a neighborhood, right? So as I joke, you can't put a stadium down there because
No.
there's homes right across the street,
Right,
but it's also the largest park in the state of North Dakota in the Greenway, just on the other side of the wall.
exactly.
I think it's a very unique development opportunity. I don't know what that looks like. Do you have any ideas?
No, I don't either. So I'm interested to see what they kind of come back with and what some of the ideas are.
Sure. Yesterday, there was also, it's easy to say we want the airport to grow, right?
Right.
Easy, right? We want the best for the airport. But I think there was a step forward yesterday in being intentional to grow the airport. I'm not sure if you're aware. I didn't see Mr. Phelan's comments yesterday, but the city of Fargo, which got a $10 million grant today
Oh, really? Today?
to expand their airport.
That's funny because every time I fly out of Fargo, I fly out of the same
Yep.
gate every time, and there's no other
They-
flights there, so I don't
They
know what
want
they're
to
expanding.
they want to add gates. They want to expand
Oh,
the airport.
really? Okay.
But you go back to early 2000s, they did something similar to what you guys were looking at yesterday.
Oh, okay.
They were intentional about it. In 2000, we're in the process of fighting a flood, rebuilding from a flood.
Right.
We had other things going on.
Right.
But the idea of, I mean, like you just mentioned, your work, you fly out of Fargo. Sometimes.
The past few flights that I've taken, I have driven to Fargo, which isn't a bad drive, but I hop on interstate, and it's right before you even get to Fargo. But it's just kind of a pain, and
when there's an airport literally just down the road.
Right. And the other thing I think negative about Grand Forks, because we only have that one airline, the connections are just not there. You're always flying to Minneapolis. You're waiting,
Sure.
5-6 hours for a connecting flight because there are just no other options. And so it does. The past few times that I've flown out of Fargo, my layovers were so much shorter, and I had just so many more options. And so I think it's for the best. And Mr. Fiedlands brought up a good point. Like we have the university, we have a lot of we have Grand Skies, we have the Air Force Base, we have so many people that want to fly in and out of Grand Forks, and
Right.
just the options aren't even there.
No,
So-
unless you happen to have whatever your connection is in the Twin Cities at 9, so you hop on that 5 a.m. flight and you have
Right.
breakfast. And I've had it before. I had a work trip and I was going to Denver, and I got to Denver at 10 in the morning.
At 10?
And that was
what
that
time
was,
did you leave Grand Forks?
I,
At
don't know, I
5?
was on that 5 a.m.
Oh,
flight.
yeah.
But I got to, and I'm like, God, now I carried my bag around Denver for a while because the hotel I couldn't get into.
Right,
I'm
right.
exhausted
I
because
don't
I
know.
was
It
up
takes
at
a
3
long
in the
time
morning.
to drive to Denver from their airport out there. So
Yeah, that's right. Majority of the time,
way out there.
majority of that time was on the train from the airport to the right.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to live in Denver, and
Oh,
so
sure.
I would fly in and out of that airport quite a bit. And I mean, it's
Beautiful airport. It's a long ways out of town.
It is a beautiful airport. It's a very nice airport, but it is way out of town. So
Yes.
it's a jaunt to get there.
Right. You technically, are you even in Denver when you land at that airport?
What was it? I don't.
Is it a
no, I
suburb
don't
of
think
some
so,
sort?
because I worked for FedEx Ground for years, and I actually worked at their hub, which was right by the airport. So
Sure.
I'd always schedule my flights. I'd worked overnights, and so I'd schedule my flights right away in the morning, so I could leave work and just drive to the airport.
Oh.
And it was like a 15-minute drive.
Right.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
So I no, you're not in Denver. I don't know exactly what town. that
Sure,
is, but
sure.
yeah.
You're rural Colorado is what you are.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, at council meeting, we had a long meeting. I felt it was a good discussion regarding the needle exchange program. And the reason I say I think it was a good discussion is because I can hear from one side about how this program needs to go away and how it's dangerous, and I understand every word they say. I hear from the other side who says it's a touching point dealing with people who have an addiction and all this stuff, and I understand every word they say. Talk about the changes the council made to the program. There was a couple week discussion in there, and I know you were involved in that. Some of the changes you made and what you're looking for in the future.
First off, I am against the needle program,
Right.
but
Yep.
I thought that all of us did a really nice job compromising and discussing where we all kind of stand. And so I really appreciated that, as a council, that we all kind of worked together. We limited it to, I believe you can only get 10 syringes, and it's just a 1-for-1 now. So
Sure.
if you bring back 10, you get 10, not you bring back 10 and you get 20.
Right.
We also eliminated a lot of the drug paraphernalia that was being handed out, by public health. And so I think that's a really good step forward. I mean, public health talked a lot about, needing these types of programs for engagement purposes. And so I think that the 1-for-1 needle encourages people to more visit public health more often instead of just getting 20, 30 needles
Sure.
at a time. I mean, now if they want the needles, they have to come back, and what else did we do about that?
You limited the number, just the number of items you said.
Right. We eliminated most of the drug paraphernalia. I think we kept like I think we kept the Narcan or
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't know what that stuff's called.
And then,
but-
correct me if I'm wrong, and then there's going to be a touchback here in the future, right? Is it like 1 year? Asking for some reporting the best you can. It's tough with health stuff. But
right. I think just a lot of us were taken back about just how little data there was
Sure.
to prove it, and they kept pointing back to national data, and it's like we want to know what's actually happening in our community,
Sure.
not what is happening around the country. Like, let's take a look at this program and see how it really affects our citizens, and so hopefully they can start trying to gather some data. Oh, another thing that they started doing, which really made me happy, is they're allowed to check to make sure that the person is over the age of 18.
Oh,
They're
okay.
allowed to
Yep.
ask for ID. They can't take down that information.
But they can check.
Right.
Yep.
As a mother, it really made me nervous that, my daughter, she doesn't look 13 at all. I don't know if she looks 18, but it made me nervous that my daughter could walk in there and just walk out with drug paraphernalia,
Sure.
without any questions from public health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really happy about that. And I guess I thought we did a good job compromising on it, not eliminating it completely, So we'll see. We'll see if they bring back any data, I guess.
And like I said, as one, I'm sitting in my back room back there watching the meeting, and that is one of those topics. And I thought you guys as a council did a good job of understanding. I may not agree with the program, but I at least understand their argument.
Right.
Whether you agree with it or not,
Right.
you understand it. I think too much now in politics or in just in general, even see it at council, is I'm right and you're wrong, and then angel and devil, right? And
Right.
that's terrible to do that. And as I was just observing, every time somebody spoke one way or the other, I'm like, oh, I understand what they're saying. I get their point. Whether I agree with it or not, I get it. I get it.
Right.
So that was, I thought, kudos to you guys as a council on that one.
Right.
In that same meeting, you guys have been covering some stuff.
Right.
You guys, obviously the news, the articles in the paper and television and on radio, and is just the ordeal with Circle of Friends, which is for better term, the city pound, right? That's who the city contracts with every time the police department picks up an animal. The financial problems they're going through. So you got presentations from them. A contract for 2024 was signed between the two sides. Your thoughts on just the whole thing, right? There's a lot. There's
What
a
a
lot.
mess.
It's messy.
Mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very messy. I don't know
Right.
really what to think. I mean, I don't feel it's the city's responsibility to bail out these nonprofits, but at the same time, like, we need a pound.
We need a pound, right.
I mean, we have to have something like that. And I don't really know what the best answer for that is. I really hope that Circle of Friends, kind of makes a comeback and gets their finances in
rights
order.
their ship a little bit.
Right. And hopefully they can continue to have a contract with the city, and we can support that way. So I guess we'll just kind of see.
Sure.
They're making a lot of changes over
Yeah.
there. I know
Which we haven't really seen the results of. They're making changes.
Right. I think they cut their staff down from like 15 to 4
Yeah,
full-time
that's
staff.
drastic.
Right. And they got rid of the building on Washington, their adoption center, which I know they just spent a bunch of money redoing.
Right.
But I think that the Circle of Friends is taking an honest step to right the ship. And hopefully that works out, because if it doesn't, I don't know really what we're going to be able to do as a city. I mean, we'll have to think of something. We need a pound.
I found it interesting. I believe it was Miss Lundmark from the finance department did research what other communities do
Right.
and how different they are.
Exactly.
Bi-
Like the
Bismarck built. They have their own pound. They built one. Fargo works with a vet.
Right.
It was kind of all over the map.
It was. I think the most surprising thing, though, that I noticed the difference between all those different communities, whether their pound was city owned or they were contracted, is the cost. Like the Circle of Friends was either charging or saying that it cost so much, like almost double the price as these other communities were saying. And so, but they were also,
They were doing more things
right, they were just fully
that
vaccinating.
weren't in our contract.
Right, fully vaccinating people's pets as they were brought in without even really double checking. You know, I'm sure that was all done kind of just right away without, I don't know what their thought process was behind it, but
Well,
I understand the rabies.
not defending them, but I get it. They don't know what's coming in.
Right.
They don't know if this animal is going to get picked up, and heaven forbid it has something that infects the rest of the animals in the. Or, you know, I a
But
little
other
bit.
communities aren't doing it, so how can they
Sure.
really?
And I think that
claim
comes
you
that
know?
comes down to the facility, right? Are they each? Are the animals not mixing? I have no idea.
I have no clue.
I have no clue.
No.
No clue. Right. All right. I think that's enough. That's enough city talk, right? We've
I
got.
thought that's why I'm here.
Well, yeah. We 20 minutes of covering this. We knocked out 2 council meetings in 20
Right.
minutes. That's pretty good. As the one who goes to a lot of council meetings, I wish council meetings were 20 minutes.
Yeah, they never really are.
No. We are recording this on February 13th. We are. That's the day we're doing this. That means it's Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. We talked for the. You said you enjoy Valentine's Day.
It's all
tried-
right. It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah. So I have some fun stats, if you will,
Okay,
facts
okay.
about Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So when you think of Valentine's Day, right? You learn this. You know, it's Saint Valentine, right? It's some. No one really knows who Saint Valentine is. They've kind of got it narrowed down to 2 people, and their stories aren't great. One was back in the day in ancient Roman times or whatever. The king at the time, it's not even the emperor at the time, said soldiers are better soldiers if they're not married. So I'm going to outlaw marriage.
Okay. Okay.
That was the
That
rule.
doesn't sound very loving.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. This person named Valentine thought that was terrible, and was secretly marrying couples.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh, that's sweet.
Emperor killed him.
Oh, that's not good.
You defied my order.
Right.
It's okay. There's bad story number 1.
Okay.
Bad story number 2 is there's a person named Valentine, right? And didn't like the treatment of Christians in the emperor's prison, and was slowly helping them escape. Because he cared for them. He got caught, and the emperor killed him too.
Oh,
That's
so
based on the story.
So regardless of who we think Saint Valentine is, they were
They got-
both killed
You're
by
right,
the emperor.
for breaking the law.
Okay.
Breaking the law. The first Valentine sent was sent. There was this duke from France who got captured in a war with England. Got captured, was in a prison in England. Had a lady back home, right? Sent her a letter, and he signed it, "My sweet Valentine." And they thought that was that. This is according to History.com and all this stuff. They felt that was the first Valentine that was sent.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's
And
sweet.
again,
even prisoners can send mail then.
and I'm reading this. I'm like, oh, that's a
Back
nice
in the
story.
day.
And then the tagline, yeah, they never did reconnect. And, why do you ending these stories like this? All right. Here's one. Here's an interesting one. Do you have an estimate? This is an estimate. I was surprised
Okay.
by this number. Let's think about this. Number of roses that are grown specifically for Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a number.
2 million.
Yeah, sure. 250 million.
Oh, wow. And I get none of them.
You can always buy yourself some flowers.
I'm
It's
going
okay.
to.
It's okay. And then we're Americans, so we spend money like crazy.
Right.
Last year, do you an idea? It's a big number. I'm just
Okay,
gonna say it's a big
okay.
number. How much money Americans spent on Valentine's Day gifts? This is last year's number.
$1 billion?
Yeah, you can keep going.
2 billion?
26
Ooh.
billion.
Wow.
26
wow.
billion. Right?
That's a lot.
And Valentine's Day isn't just for couples, right? Valentines are given to pets.
Oh.
Okay. And this is a 2020 number. So I'm thinking this number is going to be inflated because everyone bought a pet. Well, no, 2020 is pre-COVID.
Right.
But everyone got a pet during COVID, right? How many people do you think this is in America,
in America.
bought gifts for dogs? Dogs only.
Dogs only.
It's in the millions.
Okay, 5 million.
27.
God, that's a lot.
And then,
buying it for their dog?
And an additional 17 for their cats.
Well, I just buy my kids Valentine's.
Yeah.
I have 3 girls, and
Yeah.
I just make sure that they have something on Valentine's Day.
I have a daughter, I have a wife, and I look at my son. I'm like, we have work to do. We give gifts to them.
Oh, that's
Now my
sweet.
wife will work with my daughter and give gifts back, but I try to
Oh.
address it to my son. Hey, you get a Valentine for your sister,
That's nice.
right?
That's sweet.
Be nice to each other.
Right,
Right?
right.
So I found this one interesting. Not all Valentine's days are the same. Like we know how it is here in the United States and stuff. In Japan, February 14th, specifically, only women give gifts.
That's fair.
On 1 month later,
Uh-huh.
March 14th, men give gifts.
That way, the man can see what they got, so they can.
Oh, it's beneficial.
Right.
Come-
Decide what kind of gift they're
Coming
gonna give
from
their
the guy's
lady.
side of the table.
Right. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's
It's-
fair.
Have you ever seen? I don't know if you've seen the show Big Bang Theory.
I have, but
there's-
I haven't watched. Like,
There's a
all the
character on there
episodes.
named Sheldon Cooper.
Yep.
And he had a hard time giving gifts because he almost, from a dollar value, wanted to match 1 for 1. You give me something nice, I give you something nice. And his
Oh,
brain had a hard time wrapping around that. Of no, you just give something they.
Right.
So he bought many gifts, and then waited and got his gifts first,
And then he would choose.
and then he would choose which one matched. The problem was he got this very sentimental thing that he felt was priceless, and he gave the person all the gifts he bought.
Oh, that's sweet. I'm more into sentimental gifts.
Yeah,
So
the better the story,
Right, right.
Exactly.
Things that remind you of them, or
Right. Dollar value doesn't.
No.
Right? In fact,
no.
I appreciate gifts more that are if you set like a dollar limit. So that means you have to think and make it count.
Right.
It's not just going into the store and picking something.
This is about Christmas, but not not Valentine's Day. But in our family, I mean, we do other gifts also. But
Sure.
you have to buy a gift for everybody who attends Christmas. That's under $3 for everybody.
So you got to think.
You have to think.
You have to think.
My whole family now, like I bet like year 5 of doing this, and so we're getting a little bit better. The gifts are, a little bit more thought out. We start
Yep.
a little earlier, but it's difficult to find little gifts like that to give everybody. So
We just threw my 88-year-old father a surprise birthday party last weekend.
Yeah.
And the gift that he got that got passed around and everyone looked at, my sister gave. I only have one sister. She gave it to him, and it was a little book. And the book was just, you're the best dad because. And then it had, you're the best dad because, and then you fill something in. And there's 50 pages to it.
Oh.
And my sister was very thoughtful and went through, and it's like 1-2 lines, you're caring, and some of them were funny. I'm your favorite daughter. And
Right.
she's the only daughter. And went through that of the gifts my father got again, and we surprised him. So he was just looking around all the thing. That thing got handed around to everybody.
It's the sentimental ones that
Yep.
count, I think. So I think that's the most important thing, is just putting some thought behind it. Like I don't do gift cards. I don't do
Sure.
money.
Yep.
I really try to put a lot of thought into the gifts I give.
That's right. That's right. My wife gets surprised when I ask for golf balls. She's like, I got you golf balls last year. And I go, yes, and I used them. I need some more.
She should buy you like some special ones,
I've gotten special ones before.
Yeah.
Where they get stamped. One said, John's ball, you found me.
Yeah.
And another one said, I'm hiding from John.
Oh,
thought
that's
those-
cute.
those were
That's
pretty good.
cute.
Those are
Yeah,
pretty good.
That's a thoughtful gift.
Yep.
So-
Rebecca, thank you for coming back on the show. This
Thank
is a
you.
fun one. Enjoy your Valentine. Go buy yourself some flowers. It's
I
okay.
will.
It's okay. That's okay. It makes you feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, we'll come back. We're mid-February here. All this, it goes from New Year to we'll just ease into the year.
It's gone so quick already.
It goes quick.
2024. So.
It goes quick. Rebecca, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Rebecca Osowski, Ward 2 City Council member, joining us here on City Chatter Podcast. Again, thank you for watching this afternoon. You can catch all this episode and previous episodes at grandforksgov.com/podcast. Enjoy this one, and to everyone out there, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. It's not too late, so go take care of that. All right, bye everybody.